Hi everyone. I hope all of you are doing well, and all of you are also able to see my screen. Just checking if everything is in place, and then we'll get started with the session. So thanks everyone for joining on a Sunday evening. And today we're going to talk about NMAT. So NMAT 25. I just had an attempt today. I had a 12 to 2 slot. Not the best experience or result that I got, but then anyway, it doesn't really matter how much I scored. But yeah, lot many things to talk about. So we'll be talking about the difficulty, the individual sections. I'll share my experience and how I felt overall about individual sections, and then of course the overall score. What could be the implications on cutoff of all of this, and that's going to be the coverage. We'll also be releasing a video next or the coming week on specific experience that I had. So that will be live in maybe another 2 to 3 days. All right, so I can already see a few questions, but just hold on for some time. We'll be taking these questions as we progress. Okay. So first things first, the NMAT was conducted. So it started from 5th, but unfortunately in Mumbai there was no slot available for the 5th, so I ended up taking it today, which is on the 9th. And again, in other cities, of course, people got a chance to take it on the first day itself. And a lot of students, and there are people who reported higher scores. But again, there is a range of scores that we heard on the first couple of days. Now, it's too early to talk about cutoffs, right? So that's why I said that it's not easy. I mean, we can't give cutoff analysis immediately because, firstly, very few people would have taken it in the first week. In my testing venue also, we had a lot of people, but then the number of such people across India, if you look at it, that number is not going to be very significant. Most of the students will end up taking it after the CAT, right? So it's too early to talk about the cutoffs. We have shared a link in the chat, so you'll be able to see it at the top of the chat. Using that, you can actually share your score with us, right? So make sure that you submit your score because then it will help us to give you an analysis which is more nuanced in terms of what the cutoffs could be. Okay. So nothing special in terms of the overall format of the test, right? So that hasn't changed at all. Adaptive pattern, as we all know, if you have taken the official mock, it was exactly like that. So no changes there, right? Uh, Now, what it also means is that the number of questions that I show you, right, in the analysis can look different. So, for example, I may have received, let's say, one question of logarithms, but somebody else might get one or two questions of logarithms, right? So that number can change. What doesn't change, of course, is the overall at a macro level, the split that they follow. For example, if I've got two DI sets, most of the students will also get two DI sets. So we didn't hear of any student reporting getting three DI sets, right? So we'll talk about QA as we get there. So that time I'll share more details of it. So again, adaptive format, meaning the exact number of questions topic wise that I'll be showing you can be different for you. So keep that in mind. Now, whenever you click on next button, and if you haven't seen the entire section, this happens a lot in the RCs, especially. It doesn't happen at other places because the information was very limited on the left hand side. So this irritating thing will happen only in case of RCs. Now, any unattempted questions that you leave at the end, they attract penalty. The exact nature of that penalty, we don't know, right? So let's say if you leave 5 questions at the end in a particular section, there will be a penalty, right? It could be 5 questions, 7 questions, 9 questions, whatever you leave. These questions will attract penalty. Exact penalty, we don't know. But such students, right, who were not able to complete the entire paper would see the performance being on the lower side, right? Because the score overall will be on the lower side. And as it has been the case, you get an option to select the order in which you're supposed to attempt the test. You get, I think, 3 minutes to choose that, and you have to make that choice, right? So if you make a choice, then that will be the order. If you don't make a choice in those 3 minutes that they show you, then there is a default order in which it is shown. So on the left hand side, you will see the name of the section. You have to drag and drop it to create an order that you're going to follow. Okay. So very similar to the NMAT official mock in that sense, nothing different. So I would strongly encourage that all of you take the NMAT official mock, which is available in your dashboard. Okay. Now, test structure, again, this information is already known. 36 questions in each of the sections. The time that is available is different. You have 52 minutes for the quant section. You have 28 minutes for language, and then you have 40 minutes for the LR section. Now, I scored a 273. This has been my least performance in the last several years. I mean, since the test went adaptive, this has been the least score that I've got. And of course, there were multiple reasons as to what happened because of which I got a low score. I mean, for whatever reasons, things were just not working fine today. Something that has never happened with me is that I forgot my admit card, right? So it kind of went downhill from there itself. I left my home in a hurry, and then I realized when I had reached like midway that I forgot my admit card at home. So I would definitely suggest everybody who is taking it seriously to be super careful about these things. Double check if you've taken admit card and things like that. Even carrying your pen, for example. So in the test venue that I had, they were allowing students to use their own pen, and I technically should have taken my own pen, right? I thought that they will not allow that, and so I relied on they relied on them to provide a pen, which they obviously did. But the rough sheets were of terrible quality. Even the pen wasn't great. So anyway, that those are very, very minimal things. But I would suggest that anybody who is going for NMAT, right, make sure that you carry your admit card, reach there in time, and also carry your pen and a water bottle with you, right? So transparent water bottle was allowed. So just make sure that you carry these things. So 273 that I got came from 85 in the quant section, a 95 in the language section, and 93 in LR. As I mentioned, this has been like the least that I've got. Last year I had a 278, which was on day one, in fact. So day one generally is assumed to be like for whatever reasons, people think that day one is very easy. But even then, last year, for example, 278 is what I had, and then there were reports of people scoring higher at a later point of time. Even now, we have heard some people getting more than 300, but the number of such people is going to be always very, very low, right? So you're not going to have too many people getting 300 plus. But yes, looking at how things have been, because previously last year, for example, such scores were unheard of, there is a possibility that the cutoffs will go up slightly. Now, exactly what will be the cutoffs, we don't know. So we'll have to wait for some time. Let more scores come to us. Then only we'll be able to comment on it. That's why I said if you can share your scores with us using that link that we have given, it allows us to give like a very detailed analysis on the individual sections and the overall. Okay. So let's start with quant. Now, overall, my assessment of quant was DI was definitely something that took a lot of time. So there were two sets and four questions each. Now, so this analysis was done again. So one of the faculty members from IMS had a table and a combination of bar graph plus line graph. I had a table plus two pie charts. Okay, so the exact combination can also vary, right? So somebody might get, as you can see, table and bar graph plus line graph. Somebody might get, let's say, a table plus pie charts. So it depends, right? It's not going to be fixed. The table one wasn't very difficult, but unfortunately, I got those questions at a time when I was exhausted, right? So, and for some reason, I had to random mark a lot of those questions. The pie chart one that I got was calculation intensive, but it was possible to solve it. So it wasn't very difficult as such, but yes, calculation intensive. Similarly, the other faculty member who took the test had a bar graph and line graph. Again, calculation intensive is the overall thing. So what should you do? Right? For DS specifically, make sure that you practice a lot of percentages and calculations, right? So especially working with fractions, adding, subtracting things, percentage to ratios, ratios to percentages, all of those things, right? So make sure you work on that. The rest of it was a standard affair, but then some questions were definitely something that will slow you down. So there were a couple of questions where either I misread the question or I sort of miscalculated something, had to reread the question. So because of that, there were some definite speed breakers. But yes, there were direct questions as well. But I personally didn't find it to be very, very easy. There are some people who were saying that the paper was very easy compared to last year. Honestly, I didn't feel it to be that way, right? Definitely, there were some questions which were easy, but there were quite a few questions which were difficult. Particularly, I would say questions from there was one question in DS, which was algebra, and then there was one more question. Both of the questions had some sort of things that you will have to calculate to finally get in, right? I mean, do a lot of writing. Numbers wasn't very difficult. Two questions. Modern math, yes, quite a few questions on modern math. But if you're good at permutation, combination, and probability, right, most of the questions you would have been in a position to answer. Okay. Just to give one example, I mean, we are not allowed to share the question, but say, for example, number formation questions, right? So using, I think, 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, or 0, 1, 2, 4, 5, how many numbers greater than 4,000 that you can create which are divisible by 4 or something like that, right? So a lot of questions. So you would not see something which is completely new. You if you've done the official guide, or let's say you've done the NMAT mocks, you will have enough content or the exposure that will be there. So nothing new question type as such. But yes, I personally felt to be very similar to what it was last year. It wasn't very easy as such. At least the questions that I got. Maybe there were people who got slightly easier questions as well, right? So you never know. But 85 is what I had, and I think in my assessment, let's say with a good attempt, right? Maybe I could have pushed to somewhere in the range of 90 to 100, right? But I don't think it was so easy that I would have got, let's say, 100 plus or something, right? So, see, whatever you hear, right, when people say that something was easy, uh, just understand where they're coming from. Right? So, you never know. And of course, something that you hear may not be generally applicable also. So, that is why just understand that and work with whatever you see here as well. Okay. Now, logical reasoning. So, LR section again wasn't very different or difficult compared to last year. Very similar, I would say. So, 24 questions of verbal reasoning, which means that if you are somebody who wants to really crack NMAT, you have to focus on verbal reasoning. You can't say that I'm not good at verbal reasoning. So, whether it is implicit statements, strong, weak arguments, decision making, course of action, critical reasoning, syllogisms, right? So, all of it was there. Okay, you have to master this if if you want to crack NMAT. The other 12 questions, which is the non-verbal reasoning part of it. So I had one set on matrix arrangement. Basically, you had to arrange 25 numbers in a 5 by 5 matrix. So 5 rows and 5 columns. Of course, different people would have received different questions. What happened with me, unfortunately, was that I read one of the conditions wrong, and I got like I almost reached the end of it. Then there was a contradiction, so I had to resolve the whole thing. I got all of it correct. So all the 4 questions I got correct. But then because I misread one of the conditions, I had to redo a lot of it, right? So I would suggest people to be very careful while they're reading and then putting things on paper. Input output wasn't very difficult, but it was slightly different compared to the typical input output questions that you would have seen, because the entire logic was related to opposite words. So, for example, white, black. So typically, when you see input output questions, you think of arranging them in alphabetical order or reverse alphabetical order. If there are numbers, then increasing, decreasing. If there are words, then how many vowels are there in the words, and so on and so forth. But basically there were 8 words given, and there are 4. So there are 4 pairs of opposite words that are getting arranged. That was the input output set that I had, right? So again, slightly tricky, but then if you spot it, then it was possible to answer. I had to randomly mark 2 questions out of 4 because I didn't have enough time. The standalone puzzles were much more doable, I think. So somebody's position in, let's say, a particular queue is given, and then there are other 2, 3 people, their positions are given, and then you had to solve that. There was one number-based puzzle, again, very straightforward. So not too difficult in that sense, but yes, you have to really take care of the time management. Now, then comes the language skills section. So, in language skills, there were 3 RCs. Now, again, some people might not be able to read 3 RCs because it takes some time. So, the strategy is to not read the whole thing properly and then skim a lot of stuff and then answer. But the problem with that is you end up sometimes getting a few questions wrong, the way it happened with me as well. PJs were straightforward, so nothing too difficult on the paragraph jumbles. Analogies is because it is vocab based, either you get those things or you don't. Fill in the blanks was decent. Vocab based, single blank, 2 blanks, all of those were pretty straightforward. So generally, fill in the blank questions in NMAT are much easier to work with rather than the other question types. Then spot the error, there were 5 questions. And then the sentence completion, which is grammar based. So that is 2. So I would suggest that definitely work on your grammar. Vocab is one aspect which is too vast to handle. That is why you can't over index on it. So definitely improve your RC skills, work on your para jumbles. work on grammar, work on prepositions. That itself will take you to a decent score in the language skill section. Okay. So that's overall assessment of the whole thing. Now, when you look at the cutoffs, right? See, NMIMS was 209 last year with 62 in each of the sections. This year, it could slightly go up. Now, this is just based on the initial 5 day impression that we have got. As you can see, right, there's somebody in the chat window also in the session who has got a 296, right? That's a phenomenal score. So congratulations on that. Somebody has written, my friend got a 278. So definitely there are people, unlike previous years, who have reported higher scores, very, very high scores, in fact, in the first couple of days. So the cutoffs might go up, but we'll have to wait and really see how things unfold, right? Because you never know exactly what cutoffs are going to be. So everything is dependent on what will happen, let's say, towards the end of November or in December itself, because so many students will end up taking it in December. Okay. So any questions, if anybody has, feel free to ask. I'll be taking questions now because we're done with more or less the overall analysis. The bird watcher, I have scored 216 with 70 in 3 section. What are my chances in NMIMS score? Of course, based on last year's cutoff, it looks good because if you have 17 each of the sections, then you've cleared the sectional requirement, and 209 is what it was overall last year. So mostly that should also be fine. 203, which colleges I can get? Okay, so with 203, of course, NMIMS is out of question. So you have to focus on some of the other institutes. On the B school zone, you will find cutoffs of NMAT. There you will be able to find which institutes, but mostly these are going to be private institutes, not at the very top tier, right? But see, some of them, some of the good institutes, you can also target through other tests, whether it is, for example, a KJ Somaya or a TAPMI or an SDA Bakoni, right? These are possible to get in to through other exams as well. So don't just worry about the NMAT score that you got. 235 is good. 206 will not clear for NMIMS. See, it will either remain the same or it will go up last compared to last year. Okay, what else? 278. Yeah, that's a very good score. 235, is it good? Yes. Score 226. 226 is also good. Did best in QA, but got the lowest in that, just 69 marks. Okay, 69 would still be, I think, enough for NMIMS sectional. So need not be a problem if your overall is sorted. I got a 241 overall, but only got 64 in QA, 80 and 19 language. Will my low QA affect my chance for NMIMS campus? No, not really, because see, the way NMIMS had cutoffs last year, 62 in each of the sections and 209 overall. With that, you are sorted. But see, this year, with a lot of people saying QA was easy, with that thing, we don't know exactly what it will be. And anyway, because NMIMS is only first attempt of NMAT, there's nothing that you can do about it right now. So we'll wait and we'll see if actually people are reporting very high scores on QA, or it just there are few individuals who have got high scores. 213 again will be enough for NMIMS if the sectionals are fine. Same as somebody who has written 212. 296, again, that's a very solid score. So congrats, Saksham. Section attempt strategy, again, you definitely pay attention to the timer, right? So make sure that you're pacing yourself really well. I in fact finished my verbal section with almost, I think, 4 minutes to go. And then I realized that I should have gone a little bit slower and should have taken care of RCs rather than just trying to go very, very fast. The order that I generally follow is quant, then logic, and then the verbal section. Vivek 239, okay, it's a pretty solid score. So almost equal in all the 3 sections. So I'm guessing around 80-ish. And I think that's a very solid score for NMIMS. The mocks on the IMS portal, are they tough? So you should always practice tough mocks. So that's one advantage. So we have some mocks that are tougher. We have some mocks that are easy. We had changed the scoring algorithm a bit last year. So it's very similar to what you would see on the official mock, but see, every mock is different. So that is why there's no guarantee as such. Okay. 216, but only 63 in QA. Fingers crossed. We really don't know. Jai Mukherjee, we not very sure whether it will suffice or not. It's too early to talk about that sectional. Overall should suffice. I think 216 should not be an issue. But the 63 in QA, I'm not very sure at this point of time, at least. Varun, 273 with a 95, 93, and 85 split. Okay. Uh, got a 223. This is Darshan. 65, 79, 79. Okay. NMIMS decent chance because QA 65 I think should be fine. See, if cutoffs increase, right? They won't increase very significantly. Sectionals, they will typically maybe go up by maybe 1 or 2 marks, etc. But again, too early to talk about it. Uh, QA, so you have to work on the areas that are tested the most, right? So arithmetic and modern maths is the dominant part. Focus on these two areas. Time, speed, distance does not appear in NMAT, so don't worry about that. Arithmetic and modern math. Just focus on these two major areas and you should be fine. But DI was like pretty calculation intensive. So be familiar with percentages and addition, subtraction, things like that. So I had one thing on there are some country or whatever, some states, I don't know. And then there is a natural rate of growth of population. Then there is immigration and emigration. And then there is percentage of some immigrants who are unemployed or something like that. Unfortunately, I mean, maybe if I had got that set earlier, I would have done better on it. I got it towards the in the second half somewhere post, and around that time I was like really lagging behind. So in fact, in the I think last 3 or 4 questions in quant, I had to just randomly look at the numbers and make a guess that okay, this could be the answer. So that is where I messed up. Okay. I'm getting 195. How do I improve? Uh, Look at the sectionals, right, where you are lagging, and then work on that. See, NMAT is a tricky test. It's not a straightforward thing because there are too many variables that are there. So how fast you're going, what kind of questions you get. So I would say that focus on getting as many questions as you can right in least possible time. In some cases, you will have to take half chances, but you have to do that to proceed, right? So just work on your speed as much as possible. Because I saw a lot of people. So there was somebody sitting next to me on the right side, and I finished the test. Then I got a chance to look at the student's score. The student had a very low score in quant because by the time the student finished, I think the attempt read somewhere around 23 questions out of 36. And that is going to pull your score down. So you can't go so slow that you are not able to go through all the questions. Okay. Um, I'm good in quant and LR, but bad at VRC. What should I do? Focus on grammar, focus on RCs. Prepositions, these are the three things to focus on. 226, 73, 75, 78 NMIMS Mumbai possible. Yes, considering everything is above 70, overall is 226. I think you're sorted for NMIMS. 205 NMAT official mock. My exam is on 10 December. Is it possible to get 230, 240? Should be fine. So 205 NMAT official mock is decent. I would say if you can continue to put in the effort that you put, and rather put more effort, it's possible to get to a 230, 240. I think scoring somewhere in the 250 plus is always a bit difficult on the NMAT unless you are like a pretty sorted candidate. In fact, I could look at a few students and I was talking to some of them. I didn't find a lot of people going close to 250 or more. There was somebody who was sitting at the back had a 249 that I saw. But generally, it's like 250 plus is the challenging part. What is the credibility of NMAT official mock? If someone gets 215 mock, what can we expect on D-Day? Sagar, that's a good question. So in the past, I've taken NMAT official mock. This year, I think, was the first time when I went for the actual test without even having looked at the official mocks. My assessment is that at a higher range, for example, if somebody gets official mock 300 plus, etc., it tends to get on the lower side in the actual test. That has been the past experience. And if you get somewhere around 240, 250, etc., the actual score could even be higher. It gives a better estimated somewhere around 235 to 250 range kind of a thing. So if you're getting that way, I think that's a pretty good score. It indicates that you are somebody who can crack a test like NMAT. But the mocks are good, right? So it's the best thing that somebody can do before going for the official test. In NMAT, do we have to clear the sectional cutoffs? Yes, for NMIMS, you have to. But for some of the other B schools, you don't need sectional cutoffs. What's a good score according to me? So, firstly, if you're targeting NMIMS 62 in each of the sections and 209 overall was the cutoff last year. This year, it could be slightly more. So, aim for, I would say, a 65 plus in each of the sections And overall, we can possibly look at a 215. That would be like a good aim to keep. I scored 254 yesterday in official mock and ended up getting 239. So is it similar? Yeah, it's pretty similar. Yeah. I took the IMS NMAT mock, was able to answer 45 questions, but my scaled score was 196. How does the marking scheme work? Oh, that's a secret. We can't release that. Firstly, NMAT has never released their own marking scheme. It's not +3 -1. So everybody, basically whoever is offering tests, they have created their own way of estimating what the logic is. So we also have done that. What if I have not applied to NMIMS but I've given NMAT and got 239? Uh, Definitely look at KG Somaya, look at SDA Bokoni, look at TAPMI. These are the B schools that you can look at, but find more on B school zone, right? So you go to B school zone, search for NMAT, and you'll find institutes that accept the NMAT score. I think for Q and VA, IMS NMAT mocks are good, but the CR was bit lengthy. Yeah, CR is lengthy. I mean, see, some CR questions were even the options were kind of lengthy. I mean, it's like almost one proper sentence rather than having some short sentences. Uh, do we need to fill application form separately to colleges even after selecting at the time of registration? Yes, Darshan, you need to do that. Okay. When should we retake the test? I think there's a 15-day mandatory period in which you cannot take the test. So if you've taken it today, you can take it after 15 days. Um, okay. I have already mentioned what if not applied for NMS but gave NMAT and revised 239, and I answered your question. What was the level of difficulty in the NMAT exams compared to the official mock offered by NMAT? So, because I didn't take the official mock, I don't know for this year, but see, in the past, I've taken the NMAT official mock and typically have scored in the 280, 290 kind of zone. Um, in some years, I have crossed that in the actual test. In some years, I have not crossed that. So last year I had a 278. This year I got a 273, right? So it's not like an exact thing that, okay, you got this much here, so you'll get this much, right? It doesn't work that way. But that's the best thing that you can take, right? The NMAT official mark. Will today's paper be released? No, no, they don't release any of the questions. So in fact, if you went through the instructions, you would have seen that you're not even supposed to release the questions. So you can't reveal them anywhere. Does KG Sume have sectional cutoffs? I don't think they have. Can a random mark input output? It's pretty lengthy. It depends. If it is lengthy, then you have to take that call. But also know that your score will get pulled down if you do random marking, which happened with me as well. How much should we score for XIMB? They have given detailed cutoffs for each of the years. So I think we have also given it on the B School Zone. So go to bschoolzone.imsindia.com. You'll be able to find the cutoffs for XUB. I had my NMAT today, got a 228. Can I expect a call from NMMS Mumbai? Deep, yes, you should, because if your sectionals are fine, if your sectionals are more than 65, I think that's a comfortable place to be in. Last year, as I mentioned several times, it was 62 in each of the sections and 209 overall. Okay. All right. So I think we can wrap up the session here. At planned for around 20 minutes or so. But if you have any questions, leave it as a comment and I'll try and get back as soon as I can. The deadlines for individual applications keep changing, so you have to follow it on the B School Zone. On the bschoolzone.imsindia.com, you'll be able to find all of this, right? In the At the top of the chat, you would have seen a link through which you can submit your scores, which will help us to do further analysis. So please do that. XUB, I don't think they have a condition of first attempt. So the best score that you submit, they're going to take that. Okay. But as far as I remember, last year they didn't have anything like that. Not answering question has impact. Yes, definitely. So if you don't attempt the entire paper, it will have an impact on your score. Okay. Yeah, I already answered. So I don't think that Xavier's Bhuvaneshwar has any condition of first attempt of NMAT. I think they accept the best NMAT score that you submit, as far as I remember. But yes, I'll check if there are any changes this year. Okay. And if there are any changes, of course, we'll let you know also, right? So it's not going to be that some change has happened and we are only aware of it and we haven't communicated it to the students. Okay. All right. So that's about it. All the best to all of you. And if there are any further questions, leave it as a comment. We'll make couple of more videos related to NMAT. One is going to be learnings from my experience, and we'll also make one on cutoffs, but that will do sometime towards the first half of in the first week of December, I would say, because most of the students will take NMAT after CAT. Okay, great. So all the best to all of you. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you soon. Okay, bye.